Kevin Coleman here. Thanks for joining us. We're on today with a budget overview talking about the City of Westland's annual 24-25 budget for the city. And I have today our finance team, Steve Smith and Dan Block. Now, if you could tell the residents about what your roles are here at the city.
Sure, thank you, Mayor. I am the finance director. Been the finance director. This is my 21st year, I do believe. We oversee, with the help of the budget director, the budgeting process, the auditing process, tax bills, water bills, any kind of receipts that residents get billed for. They come and pay them at the, at the counter, at the cash register. So.
My name is Dan Block. I'm a budget director here at the City of Westland. Been here, I think, about a little over 6 years now. Like Steve mentioned, the finance department works on the budget every year. I work on the annual audit as well, and many other projects throughout the year too.
Yeah, and so the way this works is, just so the residents know, is the mayor's office proposes a budget. It goes to City Council, and then we hold several budget study sessions throughout the month of April. And these are on Saturday mornings. We're doing these 3 Saturdays in a row and getting input from council and talking about their priorities. And then we kind of go back and forth, and come June, we ask council to approve a finalized version of the budget, which has our administrative priorities, but also the City Council's desires in there as well. But if you could tell us a little bit, we have a multi-year budget. Is something we've been doing for a while now at the city. Can you tell us about why the city does a multi-year budget?
I'll let Dan take that one.
Yeah, I think doing a multi-year budget is important. It helps the city look into the future, and there's assumptions that are built into that outlook. But I think it gives the city and the administration a good outlook to be able to make appropriate decisions now that will affect those future years.
Yep. Okay, great. So we have looked for savings in different departments. We've reorganized the command staff at the police department to find savings to get more officers on the road. We found savings in the building department with some reorganization there, and then also our Department of Public Service. So something that was a priority of mine was to try to find savings to put the city on better financial footing in the long term. And if you look out at the projected spending, that's lowered as far as going into the city's reserve fund. So could you talk a little bit about that and why it's important to have a reserve fund as a city?
Do you want to take it or move?
Yeah, I'll let you have that.
Okay.
Sure.
So having the reserve fund is important because everyone remembers when the housing market fell apart, in 2008, and you want to be able to have enough kind of sitting aside to handle any type of situation that comes our way, that in the future that we don't expect. You want to make sure you have enough kind of in your savings account to handle all that. So that's why it's important to have a fund balance set aside.
It's a rainy day fund per se.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's important to keep the city in a stable, healthy financial position. Mm-hmm. I know our bond rating has gone up quite a bit over the years. Steve, if you could tell us why is that important to have a solid, healthy bond rating?
Yeah, so our bond rating right now is A+, which is a very good bond rating. Where it helps is if the city were to do any kind of bonding whatsoever, you receive lower interest rates on it. So it helps reduce the costs if you have to do the bonding. And also a good bonding means the city is a good credit risk as well. So.
Well, and another important piece of the budget is the MERS retirement plan. Can you tell us about what that is and why that's important to keep that well funded?
Sure. MERS is a pension plan for the general government employees. So that would be your DPS employees, your clerical staff, your court workers, your supervisors, your directors. That's a pension plan for the general government. So in years past, just to give a little history, that fund was not so well funded. Recently, we were able to issue bonds. Like you said, the bond rating helped there because we really timed the market very good. The interest rates were very favorable at the time. So we issued bonds to help fund the pension system. And then also, more recently, the city applied for and received a state grant from the state of Michigan in the amount of $26 million. So what that enabled us to do, that money was put directly into the pension system. And now that pension fund is funded over 100%, which is the first time that's happened in many years. But along with that, what it helps on the budget side is we no longer have to have a line item to fund the unfunded liability. So, I think as part of the study sessions, that will be presented on the Saturdays coming up. So that has helped save basically millions of dollars in the budget annually. So it's been a good thing. And then, the workers who had retired with the pension plan are secured, and they will get their pension that they were promised by the city of Westland. So,
well, that's great. That's great to hear. It's important that we have those funds in a healthy, well-funded spot. But I know this is different than the police and fire pension plan. They're on a separate plan. The police and officers and firefighters, once they retire, their retirement comes out of a separate fund. So what's going on with that fund, if you could tell us?
So yes, the police and fire, like you said, is a separate pension fund. That is a separate board monitors that fund. Currently, it stands about 70% funded, which in standard, that's been steady over the years, about 70% funded. The state, if you get below 60% funded, they will want to step in and have the city come up with a corrective action plan. But that pension plan is well above the 60%, so there's no worries there. But what's happened in both pension plans over the years is there's been modifications in the contracts, which helped reduce the liability going forward. So same thing with the police and fire. Some of the contracts over the years have been changed to help ease the liability in that fund, but it's still funded above 70%, so that's
Yep.
considered
And then we
good.
also have something called OPEB, which is Other Post-Employment Benefits. So what is OPEB?
Yeah, so that is that is like the third liability of the city. So
Okay.
what that is about is the retiree health care portion.
Mm-hmm.
So that's both police and fire and general government employees are in that fund. And a brief history on that fund, basically when we started monitoring the overall liability, it was over $279 million. And because we made changes to those contracts as well, and without reducing the benefits that people see, currently we're at about $100 million liability. Even though, and it is a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but what we've done is reduce the liability, and the city has started to fund the liability going forward. So currently, I think we're at about $5 million that we funded it. So overall, the liability, you take the overall liability of $100 million minus $5 million, you're at $95 million. So, and what the city's approach to that is to, like right now, we offer retirees a buyout of their insurance. If they have, let's say, a spouse that has insurance and they don't need the city's insurance, the city will offer them a stipend to no longer take the city's insurance. And I think over the last few years we've had 12, and it's reduced the liability. Help me out.
2.3 million.
2.3 million. So as we're reducing the liability on one end and we're funding it on the other end, you can see eventually we'll get to where we need to go. But I know in your proposed budget, that program continues. So we feel it's a good program. And as more and more people find out about it, they may take advantage of it if their situation allows. So we feel good about where the liabilities are today compared to just a few years ago. So we've made progress. There's still work to be done, but I think with the backing of the council, which they said they would, and your plan as well, I think we'll get there.
Excellent, excellent. And of course, you guys are working hard on the budget right now, but the finance department has other responsibilities beyond just working on the budget. What else do you guys do?
You want to jump in? You want me to jump in?
I'll talk a little bit about the audit.
Okay,
So
the audit.
when the budget process is done, so our fiscal year is from July 1 through June 30. So once June 30 hits, we have to basically get our year end all wrapped up and finalized and all the journal entries booked and everything like that. So that's a big part of the finance department's process, as well as getting basically all of our records ready for our annual audit that's completed every year. The past couple of years, we've always passed the audit with basically no findings, which is a good thing. And it's a long process to kind of go through and whatnot. And they also test all of our federal grants each year. And I think that's probably about the audit. If you want to talk about other
Yeah, they test the federal grants to make sure we're in compliance with the rules they have set up with the grants. So a lot of them can be very time consuming doing the reports and that type of thing for that.
And I know you guys handle the city's investments as well. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Over the last few years, because interest rates have risen, as everybody knows, let's just say 3 years ago, the city was in a position where with investment earnings, we were able to cover the bank fees, and that's about it. Last year, combined with all the funds, I think we were at $1.6 million that we made in investment income. And this year, with all the funds, that includes the water and sewer, all the funds, library, we will be over $2 million that we earn, which helps the individual budgets out, provides them additional resources if there's projects that need to get done. And as interest rates stay high, we expect that to continue. And how we do that is we leverage, as you know, tax bills are issued in July. Our fiscal year starts in July. So we collect that money and we leverage it. We don't need all that money immediately to fund the city. So we use investments, certificates of deposit, commercial paper, all safe investments, basically outlined in Public Act 20 from the state of Michigan, and as approved by the city council, they approved the investment policy. So it's all, very low risk, very, the high return. So it's been a good thing over the last few years. Now, interest rates, if they go down, obviously the interest earnings will go down along with it. But so far, so good.
Well, Steve, Dan, thanks for joining us today. I appreciate all your hard work on the city budget and everything you do in the finance department. I'm going to be bringing in other department heads to talk about other city departments and get more specific about what's going on in our upcoming budget. Stay tuned.